So this month's Menopause Cafe is on menopause, dementia, and Alzheimer's disease. Something that a lot of my patients during the consultation ask me about, and there's recently been an increase in awareness about it as well. So today we're going to talk about definitions of Alzheimer's disease and dementia, some of the causes and the links with our hormones and perimenopause, and how optimizing our hormones can help prevent or delay this disease, measures to reduce the risks of developing Alzheimer's disease, and some of the lifestyle modifications, for example, like exercise, diet, and sleep and stress management that can help us with prevention. And of course, at the end, we'll have a Q&A like always. Just before we get started, I thought I'll share with you I know there's some of you who are not currently OMC patients, so I just wanted to say that OMC launched in January 21, so we've been seeing patients for just about 18 months now, and the whole purpose was to deliver menopause and perimenopause care in an affordable and convenient way over an online platform, and make it more accessible to women to use this service. We've successfully treated over 700 patients over the last 18 months. I'm joined by 4 other menopause specialists who help me deliver this care on a daily basis. And also we recently had our first CQC inspection. CQC is the Care Quality Commission, is our regulator, and I'm delighted to share with you that we scored outstanding in our well-led section with good overall grading. So just to go back to Alzheimer's disease, so worldwide it's a big problem. There are 55 million people diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease or dementia, and the lifetime risk of Alzheimer's seems to be greater in women. I'll speak about that a little bit later, because it was thought to be because women were living for longer, the lifespan was longer, but we now know that hormones play a big role in that. About 2/3 of people with Alzheimer's are actually females, and it is the most common cause of dementia. It affects about 6 in every 10 people in the UK who are diagnosed with dementia. Of course, there's other causes of dementia, but we're concentrating more on Alzheimer's disease today. It's characterized by a buildup of a plaque called amyloid protein in the brain, and it causes loss of memory as well as significantly reducing the quality of life of that person and affecting their day-to-day living. So there's been recent evidence that hormones, especially estrogen, but also progesterone and testosterone, play a significant role in the incidence of Alzheimer's disease. There are a lot of, we have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone receptors all over our body and every organ. The concentration of estrogen receptors is higher in the brain than progesterone and testosterone. And estrogen is therefore crucial for the optimal function of our brain. It increases energy production. So often I hear, at perimenopause and menopause, women complain of a debilitating, really symptom of brain fog. So they say they can't think clearly or they can function, and it affects their work as well as their life. And this is due to the fact that, brain is high metabolizer of glucose, and with a drop in estrogen level, that metabolism reduces, and often the first symptom the woman experiences is brain fog. It's also important, hormones is also important in something called neuroplasticity, which is important in the process of learning. So as we age and these hormones drop, the neuroplasticity of the brain gets into trouble, and it's more and more difficult for a person to learn new skills. So at menopause, we know that there is a big drop in hormone levels, but it is during the time of perimenopause, that transitional time that can be up to 10 years prior to the actual menopause, that there is quite significant fluctuations and quite significant drops in hormone levels. And that seems to affect the function of the brain and to affect it much more than the eventual fall in the hormone level. And this is the time that we can actually do something about it, because the ovaries have not completely stopped their function, and we can ease that process and start the process of prevention. So the main symptoms that women can experience from lack of hormone levels during this time is brain fog, as we described, poor memory. These can be memory lapses. So it doesn't mean that the poor memory stays with the woman all the time. At the time of perimenopause, because of the rise and fall of hormone levels, the symptoms can be quite transient. And so it can be quite confusing, because you can go through a few months of having hot flushes, night sweats, or even difficulty with your memory, and then you can recover from that and then just forget about it and move on in life until you come to another bout of it. But also concentration and focus seems to deteriorate at this time. It's important to note that progesterone also plays an important role in our brain function. And the main thing is about the repair of brain cells. They have a big name called oligodendrocytes, but they're basically just brain cells, and progesterone helps in repairing them. And also the protective sheath myelin, which is affected with a condition called multiple sclerosis, that can also be affected with a drop in progesterone, as well as estrogen level. Now, the picture on the right, as you can all see, is Davina McCall. She's done a lot recently in raising awareness about menopause. Her recent, the second part of her program for Channel 4, she actually spent some time talking about symptoms of brain fog and Alzheimer's, and how hormones as well as testosterone can help this. There's been quite a number of research on hormone levels and prevention of Alzheimer's, and recent evidence suggests that HRT, or hormone replacement treatment, definitely helps with prevention of Alzheimer's. There was a study that was published in May of last year, which was a retrospective result of 10-year analysis that was published, looking at over 370,000 women over the age of 45. And some, were taking HRT, some were not, and they were followed up on average for 5 years, but up to 10 years the follow-up time was. And basically, they were looking to see whether the group that were taking HRT had a different incidence of neurodegenerative diseases. Neurodegenerative disease is just a big umbrella of diseases that Alzheimer's falls under it. So does multiple sclerosis and a number of other diseases. And they found that the group that were taking HRT had a significantly lower risk of developing a neurodegenerative disease, including Alzheimer's. So the conclusion was that HRT was associated with reduced risk of all neurodegenerative disease, including dementia and Alzheimer's. Now, I think there was a couple of questions that you had sent about the time that we should be starting HRT, and the duration, and whether that would make any difference in the prevention of Alzheimer's. And there seems to be a critical timing period. So there's been hypothesis about critical timing for the efficacy of the hormone treatment to impact the estrogenic action in the brain. So the earlier a woman gets started on a hormone replacement and replacing those hormones that are deficient, or she's deficient in, seems to have a better outcome as regards to prevention, and also the natural steroid formulation rather than the synthetic or the artificial hormone seems to be associated with greater efficacy. So there's definitely a case for starting HRT earlier rather than waiting for the actual menopause, which is diagnosed when a woman hasn't had a cycle for 12 months or more. The average age of menopause we know in the UK is about 51, but interestingly, it should be noted that 1 in 100 women actually enters menopause under the age of 40, and 1 in 1,000 enters it under the age of 30. So in those women who start menopause earlier than average, it's crucial for them to be sort of risk assessed for chronic diseases in general, including Alzheimer's, because this is a chance to actually intervene early and to prevent development of a disease. It's important to ask their family history and individually. So there isn't one, I think there was another question about family history and about whether we can give a blanket sort of advice about prevention of Alzheimer's, but like anything else to do with generally women's health at menopause, is really per individual basis. They need to be risk assessed, and always the benefits of taking it should outweigh the risks of being on this treatment. So the risk reduction measures to prevent or delay the development of Alzheimer's should really start as early as possible, and that's why it's important to assess and catch a woman at that early perimenopause stage. And of course, the replacing hormones that are of the natural steroid hormones, so the biologically identical hormones, has a greater impact on generally neurodegenerative disease prevention. Other than HRT, there are other modifications that we can do, other things that we can do in our lives to help prevent this disease. And really it goes back to improving the cardiovascular health. So very similar to what we would do to improve our heart health, like reducing smoking, reducing alcohol intake, increasing exercise. They also have evidence-based to improve and to delay or to prevent Alzheimer's. So with exercise, again, starting early at the time of perimenopause. Perimenopause is that transitional time really in midlife that a lot of things can start going wrong in a person's health. And it's a really good time to improve health, to make sure that that person ages healthily. And by aging healthily, of course, we mean preventing chronic diseases like Alzheimer's, like osteoporosis. So with exercise, going a little bit into more detail, you need to be thinking of about 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, whether that's cycling, walking, jogging, dancing. So that's when your heart rate goes up and you maintain it at that level at least 5 times a week, as well as, of course, muscle strengthening, which is a very important part of exercise when it comes to transitional time, perimenopause time. With nutrition, basically, we should be going for the heart healthy diet. So a lot of the good fats, the fatty acids there's a couple of them that are referred to. There's omega-3 and 6 in specific. There's through the metabolism of sugar by the brain. It's a highly metabolic organ. It needs a lot of sugar and a lot of, it metabolizes that quite quickly. But it also produces free radicals, the brain does. And we know that this production of the free radicals increases the process of aging. So it's one of the reasons why we age, by this production of free radicals. And how they can be sort of eliminated is by making sure that we take the necessary antioxidants, and the best ones are vitamins A, C, and E. And of course, that comes up in a variety of foods, or you can take it as supplements. Sleep is a huge important factor in our brain health, as well as our general health. It's when your brain can actually repair. So at the phase of sleep when your body is completely still is the time when these plaques that naturally form. So, we talked about the amyloid protein plaques, which are the cardinal signs of Alzheimer's. They actually do form with the process of aging. But, during your sleep, when you are repairing your body, part of that repair is to get rid of these plaques. So it again, this is not just people saying, oh yes, you should be eating healthy or sleep better or exercise. There actual research that has been done on it, and there's evidence to see that people who have a good night's sleep, who eat these fatty acids like what is available in fish and other food or supplements, and exercise X number of times a week, reduce their risk. Of course, stress is another huge factor in our general health and Alzheimer's. And so things like, replacing your estrogen and progesterone, of course, helps, but stress management, which reduces cortisol, our stress hormone, has a huge impact on how our body processes these antioxidants and how your brain ages and your body ages. So meditation, whether that's by doing some yoga or going for a walk before, and just completely being off screen for at least an hour or two before going to bed, helps to improve that stress management. I see, during the consultations, I see a number of women who actually on blood test results, they have very good levels of hormone replacement. So we managed to replace them well, and they're taking up their hormones, but we don't see clinically, it doesn't translate into that. So we still see that they have a lot of symptoms remaining. And it's quite helpful in these situations to see whether there is a physiological stress going on. So checking the cortisol level and correcting that either by natural remedies, herbal remedies, or by meditation and lifestyle management. And people do there's different methods. We have a naturopath at OMC, Dr. Vera Martins, who's spoken to us previously about different aspects of menopause, and she deals with checking the cortisol level and correcting it if it's not optimal, which is very helpful even in the uptake of the hormones, because cortisol can block some of these receptors. So even though your blood levels could show that you're taking hormones optimally, or even some of the symptoms have been slightly improved, but if there's a problem with cortisol level, and once that's corrected, there seems to be a huge improvement and benefit to symptom management. So in summary, there are 55 million people diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and the lifetime risk of it is greater in women. Originally, we used to think it was only related to the longer lifespan of a woman, but we now know that estrogen, as well as progesterone and testosterone, play a significant role in controlling the incidence of Alzheimer's. HRT can reduce the risk of all neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's and dementia. And starting HRT early can have a better impact on the prevention and delaying the development of Alzheimer's. Exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress management, all should be considered as well as HRT. We're going to go into questions in a minute, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that our practice manager, Mary McKenna, also does free discovery calls for us. So if you have any questions that remains after this, or if you just want to find out more about the process, you can contact her and book this free 15-minute appointment with her.